Cool, great. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to you all. It's wonderful seeing a live crowd here again, and also to our audience that is online. And for those of you that are coming in online, maybe just go into the Q&A box over there, drop in and say, where are you from? Which part of the world? Where in South Africa are you from? And also tell us whether you may be a starter investor, or whether you're a more experienced investor. And we encourage your participation today. So we will be having about a 45-minute Q&A session right at the end, and that's normally the best part of this evening. But once again, welcome to everybody, both to you online and of course to our live audience. For those who are sitting in Cape Town, you could also join us sometime at our live events as well. So they will also be interacting with us, asking questions and that kind of thing. So come and join us live if you are in Cape Town. This is, I think, our fourth one of the year that we've done. And I'm really excited about tonight because we always have a new special guest. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Neale Petersen from Real Estate Investor. And I'm the founder of REI. And essentially what we stand for is, for you, the investor out there, we inform you continuously about the real estate market, we educate you, and most importantly, we connect you to the right people that can assist you in your property journey and taking it through to the next level. So please go into REI for our daily news platform, our weekly webinars, our monthly magazine, our live events. There's a lot of content there for you. So please go onto that platform and interact with us there. So we've got a lot to cover tonight, including, very exciting, the 7 layers. Mm-hmm. The 7 layers of protection behind a secured property investment. So really, we're going deep dive tonight. So we're also going to look at the legal agreements. We've got a lawyer in the house so that sit behind the transactions, and also a new wealth assist investment solution, which you're also keen to hear about. And I'm going to let you know right now at the beginning, but Gerhard will tell us at the end. There's also a webinar, which how often is it, Gerhard? Is it once?
Every second week.
Every second week, and we can tell them in more detail at the end again. But it's called Deal Day. So if you're looking for property deals, that's the place to be, because tonight we're not doing any selling of deals or anything like that. It's education. So we want to leave you the opportunity to ask lots of questions, the why, what's behind the investment. So we're going to look at tonight one of the more overlooked parts of property investing, not just the returns, not just the structuring protection. So that's why we've called it impact of structure and returns with discipline. Investors always want to know, what is the property? What kind of property is it? Where is it located, etc.? How much does it cost? What is the projected return? And what could it be worth in, say, 5 to 10 years' time? Very important. But there's also another question that arguably deserves just as much attention. What protects my capital when things don't go according to plan? And that happens quite often. So a promising property and an attractive projected return. And yes, we've got markets that hit us in the face, and we've also got investors that make wrong decisions. So we've got to kind of, build ourselves. So that's going to be all the discussion behind that tonight. So if we look at Wealth Assist and its investment framework, they've been around for 13 years. I can't believe it, Daniel. 13 years and more than 350 transactions. Lots of lessons from that. Mm. And also, more importantly, tonight isn't just about the theory. And I think that's key for you. Mm. So that's why I always encourage the interaction. If something doesn't make any sense, please interact with us. Ask the question. No such thing as a stupid question. So we're going to unpack the 7 layers, as I mentioned, and we've got an attorney who's going to talk about the agreement. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panel. First of all, Daniel Lombard from Wealth Assist. Daniel, I'm not going to give you can give all your credentials, but he's going to impact the investment philosophy and how the model has evolved and why continuous learning from transaction matters. So Daniel, do you want to just introduce yourself once again to our audience?
Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
appreciate having you here, and I'm looking forward to it. I know we're going to learn a lot, and a lot of information will be shared, which I think will really help you to make nice, sound decisions in the future. And hopefully, not only with me and Gerhard, we will share a bit about some practical things that you can practice in life, not only in what we do here. And just to introduce quickly, I will explain in short what real estate assist does for those who don't, because we are spending a bit of time tonight on contractual things and those type of things, but not all the people know exactly what we do. So from real estate assist side, as one of the companies, part of the group, we basically, if you look at the distressed market out there, auctions used to be the way to participate and that type of thing. It has really been changing over the years. Sale and execution has become a very difficult thing at this stage with all the new laws, etc. And there's a gap of people from the time that you start running in arrears or get in trouble for, maybe it's trauma, maybe it's medical expenses, whatever it may be. They land into a position where they can't actually get out of trouble immediately, and they need assistance in that transactions. And the current market of that's about 92.4 billion rands worth of mortgages. That's 3 months or more in arrears. So there's a massive market out there. And our part of real estate assist is to actually sift through those applications, what we get, make sure that the opportunities are workable, the people are recoverable, those type of things, and those who aren't, that we can assist them to get something out on the end of the day. It's not an insurance ad, but they'll always get something out. And that is important. So that's the part of real estate assist got in the process. And I think Gerhard will share a bit about what wealth assist does to make that whole package a system.
Yeah. So Gerhard, thanks, Daniel. So Gerhard, I think you maybe just do your introduction now. And I mean, you're looking more at the bigger wealth creation side of things also. You know, you challenge conventional thinking. So I like the way that you do challenge that and make people challenge their conventional thinking as well. So over to you for introductions.
Thank you, Neale. Everyone, thank you for being here online. We really appreciate your time here. But I think ultimately I'm heading up the investment side of the business. And the idea is to say, well, if you want to create wealth, how do you do it? You know, over many years, we've tested some things. We've lost a lot as well. But, you know, not in terms of this business, I'm talking from a personal perspective. And surely there's a solution that you need. And one of the things that I realized is you actually need a council of wise men. And if you want to do property investment and build your future financially in property, I can just assure you that you need quite a few of those wise men. And ask us afterwards and so on. We'll tell you some stories that's not so good. But our hope is to add some value to the bigger market and also explain what you should be looking at when you start planning for the long term. So I'm looking forward to this discussion. Thank
Excellent. So we got the 3 wise men here, and the third wise man is Ruben Healley. He's of RLH Attorneys. And he's going to bring a legal perspective. Also going to talk about agreements. So, Ruben, over to you. You're our special guest tonight. Welcome. Great having you.
Yeah, thanks,
for the
Neale.
first time.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so just a short introduction from my side. I'm the director of RLH Attorneys here in Cape Town. So we assist the assist group with the legal side of it. You know, we help with the contracts. You know, there's always room for improvement when it comes to agreements. You know, wise people always try to find loopholes. So we always try to prevent that, always try to develop the agreements, try to prevent the loopholes. So yeah, we've got a strong relationship with the assist group, and we have every intention of building from there and making all the agreements as strong as possible. And then obviously we attend to all the conveyancing, but we'll chat about that a bit later.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great having you on board, Ruben. And so let's get straight into it then, gents. I think, Gerhard, we're going to start off with you. And as I said at the outset, you like to challenge the conventional thinking. So what are what are the things we've got to ask? Why are we investing? Why? Most investment conversations always start off with, well, what's my return? And I think we rather want to talk about, why do you want to accumulate wealth in the first place? And whether the traditional concept of saving and the traditional concept of investing, and also, why do people say retirement? I mean,
For sure.
the retire is to expire. That's the way I understand it. So maybe you can start off with us. Why do you believe investors need to rethink the traditional retirement model, and what should replace it? Over to you, Gerhard.
Thank you, Neale. Yeah, look, I mean, I always start with the big picture. I cannot think if I don't see the big picture. And I was thinking about investing and why we're doing this, as you were saying. And then this whole concept came up. But, we are trained in the financial services world to plan for retirement. So my question is, what is the fuss about retirement? I mean, clearly there is something happening, because everyone will tell me, look, I'm aiming to retire at 55 or 60 or 65, and that's my deadline. So then I thought to myself, but, is this actually relevant in today's planning for the long term? Because, I mean, if you look at when retirement as a concept started, it was actually the late 19th century. Now, that's like, we'll give you some dates towards 1890, around about there. And and that was the first pension fund where you had retirement as a goal. And it was always due to political, industrial, economical reasons. That was the purpose of creating the solution of retirement as a date. But actually, if you look back, before then, there was no people retiring. It wasn't part of their vocabulary. That wasn't the aim. They worked until their bodies didn't allow them to do it anymore. All right. Now think about that for our modern generation.
Yeah.
Okay. And
good thing.
and when you get to retirement and you say, but okay, what now? And you haven't got any ability to earn income anymore. You go to your family. Nah? All right. Now we chase our family away who's asking for money. Your community and religious charities were supporting us in terms of a livelihood. All right. So the question then to me, is it correct to actually let retirement shape what we do and how we see our long-term planning from an investment perspective? So here is one thing I didn't know. But did you know that Judaism, huh? No?
Judaism. Judaism.
Okay, the Jews. Apologies for that. Christianity and Islam combined as a spiritual movement in the world, all three of them, is representing 3.8 billion people. And nowhere in their conviction is retirement a goal. In fact, it's not even mentioned. So what did we miss if the biggest spiritual movements on earth is saying to you, retirement is not the goal? I thought, okay, that's very interesting. And, for you guys who's interested in the history, now this is the short version of the history. 1889, the first German politician started a pension fund, a government pension fund, and he said you will be able to retire at the age of 70. But the irony of it all was that the average life expectancy was 40 years of age. So Germany knew that they will never ever pay out any pension fund money. On average. It's the exception. Maybe it's my father-in-law, he's 94, 94.
Well, my
So
mother-in-law as
you
well.
see, so today it's a different story. I think Germany would have paid in, but that was the first one. Then the Industrial Revolution came, early 1900s. Pensioners had to, start coming into retirement because it's actually physical work that they did for many years, and I just couldn't continue. And then in 1935, a U.S. Social Security Act was signed by the president. There was a massive unemployment for young people. Like, it was a crisis. And then he signed this law into being that says basically you will retire at the age of 65 and to actually make way for the younger generation to come in. And what people don't realize is that the average life expectancy in the US at that stage was 68. So 3 years, maybe you make it, maybe you don't. But that was the plan on the US soil. And then you get the 1970s up to today, this ideal that was created by people, the dream to retire in future. And then suddenly you started seeing that there's corporate pension funds, which currently you will see that it's going out of the door at this stage. Very little companies are actually bringing it in, but it's corporate funds, rising of personal wealth, private retirement investments, retirement annuities, tax savings when you retire, all of those things. Aggressive financial marketing by the financial institutions. That was actually the leading on. And the idea was to transform what was planned to be a safety net into a life stage goal. It's now your goal. And what will you do when you get there? You'll go travel. You'll go and have a leisure time. You'll be personally, financially free. You'll have your own time to do whatever you want. That was the dream. And what actually changed is that modern world treat retirement as an entitlement. Now suddenly I have to retire. Now think about that. In this world where human rights are actually the key, I have the right to retire. But the problem is, it's nowhere to be found in the scriptures. Your job or your work actually was your purpose.
Yeah.
You have to find that place that work is a purpose and not a job. So that was actually then the key in how we see our planning. And it's the financial services system, banks, everyone that's actually focusing on how to get to that goal. So just looking at, is it working? Because that's another test. If you implement something, is it working? And the reality is 90 to 94% cannot retire comfortably at the age of 65. And if you are part of that, 48% of the people that did retire actually are not making it on the money that they retired on until they die. So it's a dilemma of just reaching it there. And so 6% basically reach the goal. So would you be saying, if we've got a passing rate in matric of 6% in the schools today, what would we say? Keep on using the system. It's ridiculous. So just for you here tonight and online, just do the quick calculation. If you want to know how much you need to retire on, take your monthly salary today, times it by 300, because that's the amount that this financial services, the investment gurus will tell you to invest and withdraw 4% from and be able to live until you die. So just to give you a simple example, 25,000 Rand a month times 300 is 7.5 million. All right. So the reality is most people that I know has got a problem because they should be going past 7.5 million to actually get to 50. If you live down here in the road here, Durbanville side, 25 you on the poverty line. So the reality is that you need much more capital. And we need to change the way that we're thinking about planning, building structures that last for 100 years. The Bible speaks about building a legacy for your children's children. Yeah. Now, I'm thinking about my, future children, that kleinkinders, né? Yeah. And I think, okay, should I be providing for them? But it's not the concept of providing for some individual. It's the thinking pattern should be It's 100 years of planning. What can I put in place today that will create 100 years of wealth?
Yeah.
And that's what we should be starting to do. And this is what this evening is all about. Creating that solid legal foundation that stands the test of time. It's just not in and out. And I can tell you now that I would have been much richer if I had the counsel around me to advise me within the dilemmas that we faced when we did. So the reality is this: will you be the 9 out of 10 or the 1 out of 10 that will make it? Because stats shows me that most people is forming part of the 9 out of 10. And if they think they can make it, they will most likely not keeping on making it. So I think we should be looking at structures that really have a foundation, a conservative foundation actually, and we have to think much longer in creating the wealth that we need for the future. So that I thought was just maybe an introduction to this evening.
Good. Yeah.
Great. So,
Thank you.
so I think we're really starting just to evoke everybody's thinking at the moment and challenge your traditional thinking. We are, by the way, we are talking real estate, and we'll get to real estate because that's going to be the solution. But yeah, so one of the concepts you're going to bring into the conversation now, Daniel, is the reflection loop. So if you can maybe just share with us, and essentially it's learning from, your decisions. It's learning from having your experiences, which lead to better decisions, and your outcomes, mistakes, and obviously feeding those lessons back into the next investment, because it's the decisions that you make that obviously resulted in that particular result. And it's not the economy, ladies and gents, it's actually the investor.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, worked that in to your planning yet, it's you. It's you at the end of the day. So maybe just talk a little bit about how that reflection process changed. I mean, when we talk with Wealth Assist and your investment model, and how it's evolved over the last, say, 13 years, and share what that reflection loop is.
Thank you,
Daniel.
Yeah, I think the key for me is who of you have been investing for quite a while. You must ask yourself, and if you can say yes, I know a few stories here on both these guys, and they all tell you. I seldom have met investors that have spoken to me that hasn't somewhere along the line lost money. Okay, and I'm talking about specifically property investment. Okay, because there's so many just pitfalls that you can miss. Purely just how do you build up knowledge, and that's I think Gerhard's point. How do you build up knowledge to avoid the risks? Okay, are you going to ever spend as much time? I'm just using myself as an example, or let's use Neale. Will you ever spend as much time as Neale talking to the Christovisers, the people there out there? I mean, he even spoke to our favorite Donald Trump at a stage. So those type of guys that he met with, and he can ask them whatever he wants. How long does he have to go through this process to actually know what all of them know? It's just not possible, And it's not wise to think. I know these days, like my son helps me write every now and then. He's kind of got everything to his fingertips. And it's much easier. Okay, you can get knowledge quickly from chat and from Claude and from all those type of things, and it can help you to avoid things much quicker, and you can learn quicker about certain things. But practice is a different thing. And I love the story, and I will also send a bit of more detail on the story. I'll send it out with the videos to those that registered. About Ray Dalio, because I went and I looked at what's the things, who was the best investment advisor in the world? Somehow he had to do something right. So I looked at up these guys, and it's actually Christoph that introduced me to the guy's philosophy and that type of thing. And I started going into what is he actually doing? How did he become this great real estate investment advisor? And he started Bridgewater. So if you go and read up about Bridgewater, it is one of the companies that's got the funds that's got the highest return on investment in the world, and for the longest periods of time. All right. And I thought, he must have done something. And I mean, that market's even far more volatile than the property market, And I like his story about the fact that he was actually smart from young. He came up one day and he came and he had an opportunity to speak before Congress, and he had to advise them what's going to happen over the next 3 years. Okay? And he actually was 100% correct what was going to happen with interest rates and all these things and so forth. But he said, what will then happen after that? What will we have to do? And how is things going to change after that? And he was horribly wrong. Okay? And he realized that somehow now, I mean, he nearly lost the business. He had to let most of his staff go. That time, I think he borrowed something like $4,000 from his parents to keep the company afloat and those type of things. And the question was actually, I made this correct decision, but what about the ones that I make wrong? And all of us do make mistakes and decisions, okay? And if you get to an investment advisor that tell you you've never made a mistake, run, baby, run, okay? Because they haven't learned any lessons, and you may be the next lesson. And that you have to be careful for, okay? So in his case, he always believed he was right, and then he changed the attitude of saying, my approach from now on is, how do I know I'm right? Not I am right. What is the things that support me being correct in my decisions? And I think that's very important. And he started changing, he used the pain and the reflection to start building progress. And what he did about that is, he said, look, and I'll use us as an example. That's what we do, don't exist in this country or actually worldwide, okay? And especially not the way we do it, all right? After we help the guy, the investor gets his money, he gets his return, and then we still give whatever is left over to the previous owner. Okay, so it doesn't exist in the world. You can go and check it. Okay. So you can have this independent thinking or brilliant opportunity that you can see that we saw, and we started this organization, and then we made mistakes. I remember my first mistake was always believing that everybody's got good intentions.
Yeah.
Okay, and they actually want to buy their house back. And unfortunately, some was just chancers, just want to get some money and run. Okay, so those type of things you learn through the process. And I remember we had 2 real estate investors whose capital we personally paid back. Okay, because that's the only guys that would have lost the money in the 13 years that we are doing what we do. So those type of things is you learn. When you learn, how do you avoid these type of things? How do you avoid that happen the next time? And I think the key is, and I find it so much for me, investors that goes and they burn their fingers once, then they don't want to be in property investment anymore. You just learned your lesson, okay? So you're one day smarter than yesterday in doing great investment. Don't run away. Keep on doing what you're doing, but learn from that and surround yourself, like Gerhard said, with the people. So if we start the process, we first look at what worked exceptionally well. Let's keep that, because that needs to stay there. Then, where's the delays? What happens in those delays? Why did this person not finish the buyback? Was it a mistake? So, but it costs discipline to do that, because you have to go through these things and you have to revisit this deal. I mean, we sat with a transaction today that is just finishing off, and we said, why did this happen? Why didn't we solve this problem? You know? And then in that case, that's where we build the next agreement. That makes the next agreement stronger. And that's why we don't like to have our, what we call our deposit holding attorneys, like in this case, Ruben Healley attorneys here. We don't like to change them every day, because he's learning all those things with us and growing with us and bringing the lawful side of it into it. And I think that's very important. So if we look at the reflection loop slide, then you'll see there, we speak about every one of us make decisions every day, but we need to be humble and understand there's always a possibility of making a mistake. Okay, I like it always because I find that Gerhard is like, although he's a big picture guy, he's very analytical when it comes to certain things, and supporting type of docs and things like that, where I'm maybe on the other side. I mean, Gerhard likes to spread the risks. You know, you want the guy to invest some in this and some in that and some in property. For me, there's no other investment as good as property. So those are the things where we help each other in the process. And if we grow that and we use this philosophy in life, and I believe it's really something that you can adapt today and say, anything that I do, if you're going to go through a process, you're going to do this, doesn't matter what your business is. If you go through that process and you find, oh, let's establish what happened here. Where did the pain come from? Oh, it was this, okay? I remember my son once told me about crypto when it starts. This is what you need to invest in. And at a stage, he did so well, he just threw all his savings in there. And then the next day I asked him, how's it going? And he didn't even answer me till today, because there was nothing left. So those type of things, you have to actually have the pain to determine, okay, no, this is a mistake. What went wrong here? What did I do wrong? How can I change this decision to, in the future, do something right? And I think that's the rule. What principle or rule can I now change and bring into my life or into my business or into real estate investments to save that situation? So I think it's a philosophy that you can adapt, and it helped a guy like that to become the greatest investment advisor in the world. I think it can surely help us. Okay. So then just quickly want to touch on tonight's program. Why are we talking about this stuff that we do? And I think Neale, in the last Real Estate Investor magazine, that magazine is so loaded with information. If you're a property investor, you have to read it every month. Okay, it's a good thing. But if you go there, Neale spoke about the system. And I think that's the privilege that we had over the years. We actually build a system that the one thing links to the other. And on the end of the day, I think this is the goal, is to identify risks. That's what you want as an investor. You want us to do. Identify those risks, see how we can change that. And if you look at just a few things, before you commit your capital, you need to know what is the risk in any transaction. Okay? Now, if you take just a normal property deal, how will you do those risks? How would you look at risk? What is the risk? High interest rates, change of interest rates, those type of things, higher levies, higher rates and taxes,
inflation,
the new legislation changes. Like, for instance, if you want to go into student accommodation, you need to understand short-term lets. You need to understand how the laws are now actually changing for that. Otherwise, you'll be caught out.
the utilities.
Yeah, exactly. So all those type of things are things that now where do you do a real estate investment that actually covers you, that if it goes up, you still get the same money? Do you know about those deals? I would appreciate if you tell me. Because I'd like to see if there's competition. So the thing is, we took those risks. It's actually all that we did, is we took those risks and we said, how can we do something different to address those risks in your real estate investment? That's literally what we went and did. It's not that we gurus or, all kind of funny things that we started, So
there's certain methodologies that you do.
it's just methodologies, picked up the risks,
Yeah.
tried to say, guys, there's more to it, like Neale says. There's more to it, to an investment, property investment, than the property, the location, all these type of things. There's more,
Yeah.
and I think,
No, absolutely. So
it's
before
a
you,
few of them.
the 7 reasons, we'll get onto that now, the 7 layers. I like to call it the 7 layers of protection.
Exactly.
That's what we can do. But I just want to add to some of your comments there, Daniel. So I mentioned Ray Dalio. I mean, Ray Dalio had his own coach. His name was Tony Roberts.
Yeah.
And he helped him. So remember, every successful guy, success leaves clues.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a successful guy behind him. And he has a coach, and he coaches him.
Exactly.
So having a team behind you, and I think that's really the point that you want to do. And I think also to the audience out there, I also want to make the point, many people think the home that you buy, because many people are highly invested in their own property,
Oh, yes.
which is their house.
Is an investment.
And it's an investment, and it's going to give you great returns. So I just want to distinguish between the two over here, between the investment that they would
That's
come
very
along to
important.
Wealth Assist, and rather rent. You can live the high life, but then put your investments in property and get the other return. So that's a way of doing it. But I'm going to hand over to you, because this is really important stuff. I mean, this is the architecture that is behind these returns. So you want to take us through that, Daniel?
Yeah, I think in this one, I'm going to give it to the guy who manages this. because if I have to protect your money, maybe it will not be that as safe as Ruben does.
Yeah.
So he's got a few things on the line if he makes mistakes with those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Neale. Yeah. So I think first and foremost, we need to give peace of mind to the investors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the attorneys come in. Now, like with all property transactions, attorneys are involved, but obviously there are trust accounts that the monies are paid into. There are agreements. So you'll see there, point number 1, regulated by the attorney's trust account. So obviously we get audited yearly. We can't, and it's not our money. It's the client's money or the investor's money. So we are the custodians of that money. But before the monies are paid into the trust account, obviously there are agreements that need to be finalized, and we are involved in that process as well. Obviously, the drafting of it, making sure that all the contractual conditions are met and all the milestones, etc., etc. Once that is done, and the agreement and the meeting of the minds and the consensus is there, right, now the payments can be made. Payments are made into the attorney's trust account. We are regulated. There's fidelity fund, insurance, etc., etc. So you as the client are also protected in case it has to be paid into an attorney's trust account by chance, because unfortunately you get attorneys like that in life that steal money, but let's not go into that. The fact of the matter is, it's your money, it's regulated, it's protected. So that gives you, the investor, the peace of mind in that regard. So while we're going to go to the next slide now, but at the end of the day, yeah, there it is. So there you can see there's the differentiation between the two. So if you use the deposit holding attorney and the conveyancing attorney, it can be the same attorney. But let's use this example. Let's try to split them up. So the investment there's the investor. The investment is made. The monies are then paid into the general investment account with the deposit holding attorney. That monies are safe. It's your money. There's a ledger open for you as the client. It can be you in your personal capacity. It can be your company. It can be your trust, whatever the case may be. We are highly, highly regulated nowadays with FICA. So that's also a form of protection for the investor. You get FICA'd. We need to keep all of that information on file. We get audited, or with FICA, so that's another irritation that we need to do, but unfortunately we have to do it. But again, it gives the investor and you guys the peace of mind that your monies are safe. So after that, if a deal is allocated, so we get the money from the investor, let's say you pay R1 million into the account, pending a deal that comes onto the table, we invest the money. So again, we regulate all the paperwork. We need to get instructions to invest. Again, we need to do FICA. We invest the money for you to earn interest on that money while you wait for that deal to come your way. Right, now the deal comes your way. Now we journal the money to the investment opportunity trust account. So it's the same trust account where we journal the money internally to that specific deal. Okay? If it's the same attorney, we journal it. If it's the conveyancing attorney, we pay it over to the conveyancing attorney's trust account. So again, same principle, same rules and regulations. It's still a trust account. Monies are safe. And then obviously from then on, the conveyancing attorney attends to the transfer or the registration of whatever needs to be done based on the specific agreement. And then subsequent to that, then you'll see then the arrows goes back. So then again, the capital returns are paid back to the investment account or what we call the ledger account. And then subsequent to that, again, it gets paid back into the general investment account with a deposit holding attorney with your returns. So the fact of the matter, the long and the short of it is, it's never paid to the owner, or it's never paid to real estate assist or to the assist group. It's regulated by the attorneys, an independent third party with a trust account that regulates meticulously, very strict. We monitor all the agreements. We check all the checks and balances before anything is paid, and we'll get to that now in regards to the paperwork. But that is the long and the short in regards to the peace of mind that you as the investor get in regards to the fact, because at the end of the day, if you pay the money into an account, you want to know your monies are safe, and obviously that you're going to get your money back with returns. That's ultimately why you invest.
Yeah. And
Is there anything that an investor should look for in transferring the funds into the account? Are there any sort of
very important.
flags that they need to be aware of?
Unfortunately in life, there's, especially with attorney's trust account, there's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of scammers out there that intercept the emails of specifically attorneys, because obviously we work with millions of rands every day in trust accounts with clients. So I always tell clients, listen, once I write to you and I email to you, phone me. Okay, read the account trust number to me, or I can read it to you to make sure that you paid into the right account, because it's literally just one number that needs to be changed. A 6 can be an 8, and it gets paid into the scammer's account. So always make sure, it's very important, that you phone the attorney when you make the payment to read the account number to the attorney, or he reads it to you. Very important.
Okay, great. I think good advice there.
I just want to add
Please
there,
do.
Neale, what is important as well is the money. Even and Ruben can share a bit about that. But the point is, we don't even allow the owner, apart from his owner's cash, because you'll see in your agreements, there's normally a full breakdown of every single payment, who it needs to be paid to. Okay. In the agreements, stipulated where the money goes, who's paid to, whatever. And in that, you'll see there that even the debt is never paid to the owner to pay the debt. It's direct to the creditor, because it's our responsibility to make sure that the investor's money is allocated and paid for what we said we're going to pay it for, and to ensure that the real estate owner can recover and do what you have to do, and not go and just get a bit of a feeling, and then...
No, absolutely.
There's $1 million coming.
And not only that, Daniel, what is important as well, and again, coming back to the agreement will say, listen, the monies are allocated for this and that, but it remains the investor's money. So before I make any payments, or the attorney makes any payments, we write to the investor and say, listen, in terms of clause X, Y, and Z of the agreement, we're going to attend to this payment now. Kindly confirm in writing that we may proceed with that, because it remains your money. And we have to have that instruction on file before we allow to make that payment.
Yeah, and they actually give us a hard time, because if it's not correct, and it needs to change, they say, just do an addendum. You know, find a new one. Any case, but what I wanted to show for the people out there and our guest here, I just wanted to say, here's the face to your attorney. Many people think he's our attorney, but he's also your attorney as an investor.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you know, this is Ruben. If you want to speak to him, let's get you in contact, because he is the man that's representing your money as well, and you're part of the deal.
Great. So, Daniel, you're going to take us from capital to returns, and
Yes.
how it's
Yeah.
contractually predetermined in the contract.
Yeah, so I'm not going to spend too much time. Those investors that know what we do and how we do it and so forth are all aware. But I think it's important to just look at these things and say, okay, how's my returns determined, and when is it determined? And we know in any other property transaction, you never know what you make up front. Okay, it's always normally okay, let's not call it a thumbs up. Let's call it a matchbox sum, and there's some potential profits there. This is not like this. It is exactly planned, and the fact that it's a priority payment, that before we earn any of our performance profits or anything like that, we've got a rule that in that case, if we have to earn performance profits and we didn't perform, then our money gets taken first. So, and it's written like that in the agreements. The priority of payments of returns. Okay. Obviously, the same with the monthly cash flow, the returns. It's always stipulated. When we talk about if there's capital reductions, how it will be handled. So, for instance, if we have what we call our option fees, that gets paid to you, but there's an additional option fee. Now, for a lot of investors who use mortgages, when that gets paid into your bond, you actually pay less interest at that stage because that money is paid in advance. And you don't even calculate that in the sum normally. But this is those type of things, and they all are done upfront. And I think that's where the key lies. You don't wonder about these things. When you read the lease, you will see if the interest rate goes up, the rent goes up. If the levies goes up, the rent goes up. If the rates and taxes goes up, the rent, that's what we call a triple net lease, covering all those things. And you know, and I know, when you own a property, you always pay maintenance yourself. In this case, no, it's included. The tenant pays it. Okay? So all these type of things are part of addressing your risk in the contracts as such, and dealing with that. So, yeah, I think that sums up the predetermined contractual returns.
Yeah.
That's why we call it predetermined contractual return.
But I think the reality is, people don't realize this. It's actually numbers in your contract.
Right.
We're not saying we're going to give you 12% or 70%. We actually say to you, this is the number, so that when you if we should all die at assist, go to heaven or go into retirement maybe.
Yeah, no. We're never going to go to retirement.
Or both.
So then if you pick up your contract and you sit with Ruben, you see he's still young, then you say to him, okay, well, how much am I getting here?
Yeah,
And
no,
he's going
not
to say,
how
well,
much. Yes.
here's the numbers. We've paid you so much up to now. This is what is still owed to you. You know, we don't need to be here.
Yeah.
So that's very important for our clients to also understand.
Okay. So you're going to talk a little bit about, Ruben, sort of the different legal instruments.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe just take us
Yeah,
through
so I'll
that?
run through the various securities
Yeah.
that exist for the investors, because obviously that's very important. If you invest the money, you want to know, okay, but what form of security do I have? Or another word that we can use is, what protection do I have? That the guy on the other end of the agreement is not going to run away with my money, because unfortunately that also happens. So the first one there you'll see is the normal transfer. So we're not talking tonight about specific deals, but I mean, there are situations where the investor takes transfer of the property. So in other words, you become the owner of the property. So it's your normal transaction where you become the owner of the property, and that in itself gives you a lot of rights and a lot of security. I mean, I can talk about Section 26 of the Constitution until I get blue in the face. I mean, that is in the Bill of Rights. It's a very strong right that you have. It's to owner, you become the owner, to ownership rights. So that in itself provides you with a lot of security. And I mean, that's fairly self-explanatory. And then when it comes to recordals, so recordal is something unique, is when you buy a property on an installment sale agreement. So that's section 20 of what we call the Alienation of Lands Act. So when you buy a property, it's very strict requirements to comply with that. But the long and the short of it is, it's like the normal installment sale. When you buy a vehicle on installment sale, the requirement is there has to be more than 2 installments, and the contract needs to span more than 12 months. And obviously the contract needs to be in writing.
3 or more. No?
3 or more,
Yeah.
but more than 2. And then obviously it has to be longer than 12 months.
Yeah.
Longer than 12
Longer,
months.
longer.
Longer than 12 months. Very
Not 12
important. Not
months,
12
guys.
months.
Not
Longer
12
than
months.
12 months.
Yeah.
So it's and the reason we're laughing now
Yeah.
is because we've had an experience where we had an agreement that said 12 months.
Yeah.
And that's not binding. It has to be more than 12 months. Okay. And then section 2, obviously, of the Alienation of Lands Act says that you cannot sell or buy a property or immovable property if it's not in writing. So obviously you get something in law that a verbal agreement is binding, but when you buy or sell a immovable property, it has to be in writing, signed by both parties in wet ink. So that's also something that the legislation says. But to come back to the recordal and the security for the purchaser is when you buy a property on an installment sale. So now then we go to the deeds office and we register section 20 recordal against the title deed to prevent the seller from selling the property to somebody else. So that gives you the peace of mind and security in that regard while you pay off the property to eventually take transfer in future. So that then prevents the seller from either selling it to somebody else or to do whatever funny stuff they probably try to do.
Well, going to the banks and getting more loans again.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Like
So-
for instance, in that agreement, it
Yes.
states, our agreement, for instance, states that you can't increase your mortgage.
Yeah.
In that case, you know.
So just to give you an example, if the owner wants to do that, in normal circumstances,
You'll have
you will have to get the consent
consent. Yeah.
from the buyer,
Yeah.
who has the benefit of the recordal against the title deed. Okay, and then thirdly the covering bond. So that's a covering mortgage bond. So just like when you buy a normal property and you take the loan from the bank. So if you invest the money and you give the money to the real estate owner, then you want security. Then we register a covering bond over the property. So what is a covering bond? A covering bond is a form of security. So either if they don't pay you back or whatever the case may be, then you can call up that bond. You can sell the property. You are then a secured creditor in law.
Yeah.
So once that property is sold, you get your money back first. In a situation like this, you get your money back with your returns as per the agreement. So that's also a form of security. And then there are other forms of security as well, like cession of rentals and sale proceeds. So that's a simple agreement that we can draft for you, where it's just a cession of rental income. So then the rental income doesn't go to the real estate owner, it goes to you as the investor directly. Again, regulated by the attorneys, monthly checking, the collection comes into the trust account, paid over to you. So we monitor that. Okay. Title deed controls. So we always, in all our transfers, we make sure that we hold the title deeds. We keep the title deeds, again, as
no
security.
goes down.
You cannot register a property in the deeds office without the original title deed. The Registrar of Deeds will not allow that. So to keep the title deed for safekeeping with us, that's also a form of security and peace of mind for the investor. Very importantly, and very wisely, when we sign the agreements with the investor and with the owner, or whatever deal there is to sign, we always make sure when the agreements are signed, we sign the transfer documents with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's any form of default or whatever the case may be, those documents are signed, and we can register that property, or we can go and register that bond, or we can go and register the recordal immediately. Okay, so very interestingly, I just want to say something about the recordals, because a lot of people don't know this, Neale. Because for some reason, a lot of people don't use the installment sale agreement. And it's a very effective tool, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Section 26 of the Alienation of Lands Act make provision that and again, a form of security for the investor to say, let's say the owner dies or gets sequestrated. You are still a preferred creditor in that estate,
Yeah.
either the insolvent estate or the deceased estate. Okay, so you then have the choice of paying the last installment and enforcing that sale, or obviously then you are a preferred creditor. So you stand first in line in that estate to get your money back. Before SARS, before anybody. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's, again, extra security that you...
I always say it's one of the strongest, if you actually think about it, it's one of the strongest, because even if you buy a property from somebody today and tomorrow you sequestrate it, okay, that trustee can reverse the transaction if it's not older than 6 months and things like that. There's obviously a lot more detail about that, but the point is this doesn't work like that. So it's actually in some areas stronger than a normal transfer or sale. Let's call it a sale. Yeah.
You're entitled to get your money back, but you are a preferred creditor. So you won't be a concurrent creditor in that estate. In other words, get your 5 or 10 cents in the rand. So you won't lose out. You'll get basically all your money back.
What degree?
Okay.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, very importantly, Section 27 of the Alienation of Lands Act says very importantly that, just wonder, why did I forget it now?
The 51.
The 50%, yes, thank you, Gerhard. So very importantly,
You're a smart
again,
guy.
yeah, you're very smart. Smarter than you look, eh? So again, a lot of people don't know this. So the moment you, as the investor, pay 50% or more on the installment sale, you are then entitled, in terms of Section 27 of the Act, to take transfer of that property
Anytime. No.
anytime. You can enforce that transfer immediately on the condition that a mortgage bond gets registered
There's
in
for the
favor
balance.
of the owner.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
for the
that's then
balance
for
of
him.
the purchase.
On the flip side, that's then security for him. Okay, that's something that we call a kustingsbrief.
Yeah.
That's again security for him now. So he takes transfer, he takes ownership, but now it's just a reverse. So he then has the covering bond registered.
Now, if the balance is not paid.
If the balance is not
If the
paid.
balance is actually paid, then it
Correct.
doesn't have to. Yeah.
And then lastly, just quickly, the first right of refusal. So there's a lot of deals that you'll see if you invest that obviously that we give the first right of refusal for the real estate owner. But that's something that we simply build into the power of attorney. That doesn't have to be done notorially. It can be done, but again, we can build that in as security for the real estate owner for them to buy back. Then they have that first right of refusal.
For the same reasons that you don't want that person to sell the house, but they also don't want you to sell their house, which they want to buy back.
Exactly,
So it's a simple one. Yeah.
Okay, great. So just to our audience, if there's questions that you want to send through, please send them through. I know the time is moving on quite quickly, so I'd
Where
like
are
to
we
tackle.
on time?
But Danny, I want to ask a question because I think, Ruben
Sure.
so eloquently spelt out that whole section over there, which is very important. But I mean, it can still be really legally well structured, but can still perform poorly.
Yeah.
So, so how do you manage the operational side of things? There's still that risk on that side over there. How does it work? How can you prevent
I think that
operational problems from
Yes,
becoming an
yeah.
investment problem over there?
Gerhard
Because
can
that's what
jump,
the investors are.
Gerhard can jump in here as well. But I think the key here is the contracts at this stage. This is probably where we, if we use the reflection loop the most, this is it. Okay, this is where we paid the most prices of learning because we initially started, and this is just an example, we started off not having rental guarantees. Now we've got rental warranties for the full term. Now you ask, how did that come about? Well, that is our guy on the pre-solution team leader there and manager there, came up and said, look, you guys are paying the guy's debt, all of his debt. And then you have to rely on him to pay his rental, for argument's sake. Okay. And then we said, okay, but if that is the case, why don't you swap it around? Because our investors are now the guys who don't get paid, which is a good point. And his debt is all paid. All right. And we said, yeah. The responsibility should be on the owner to actually pay off his debt. And we can rather have the investors full-term warranty, lying on trust, rental paid in advance, which you never get in most property deals in your life. Okay, so this is part of those type of processes which Neale's talking about. Dealing with the tenant, practical situations, making sure that they can pay. How are they going to recover? How does the rental collection? For instance, we don't allow clients to pay rates and taxes, not even his usage. We pay it because that's the only way we can ensure that the account that's on the investor's name won't run in arrears. And if it runs in arrears, we're in control to make sure that that gets paid first, so that he don't, on the end of the day, have to pay it out of his pocket. Compliance inspections, those type of things, upfront maintenance quotations, project management of those bigger projects of maintenance, those type of things, is part of that gets built into these practical things that we have to do every day to make sure that this transaction runs well, it's well controlled and it's professionally controlled, and we use experts in the field on each of these things to do that on a regular basis. So that is always much easier. We've got panels of contractors nationally, things like that we use, and I think that covers most of those type of things.
Excellent. So insurance?
Oh,
Well,
that's an
for sure.
important one.
Look, I mean, I believe in protecting the downside because the upside will look after itself. So what happens if this real estate owner dies that you went into agreement with? What happens if you died? You know, depending on your structure. So we take out life insurance in most cases. And we were discussing, you know, the timelines of the master. You know, when you die, you need to appoint an executor in your estate. But, you know, it's not only the appointment of an executor, it's actually the timelines of winding up the estate. That can keep you in a deal for years. So, and now what we do is we take out life insurance to settle the deal if it's so quickly in the estate, or to fund the future of this person that's dead and not there anymore. But we've got a deal that's running. So we need life insurance for that. So we take it out in the name of the assist group.
Yeah.
The life insured is the real estate owner. And when he should be passing away, unfortunately, we pay it into the trust account at the attorneys, who will then handle and instruct accordingly so that we can settle the deal with that executor.
Transfer it back to the estate and whatever the intention was of this deal.
Yeah.
You want your return. The other guy's family, if he passed, obviously want the house back, paid for, etc. Those type of things.
And just secondly, we don't let them pay the property insurance. So, you know, do you think houses burn down? I've witnessed one in Somerset West, close to my house there, walking up, poof, gone. Fat roof, go to nice now. It really happens. So what we do is we pay the insurance up front for the year, so that there's absolutely no risk that the property can be lost, because that's your security. The land is normally worth less. So we need the building insurance in place. And if there should be a geyser bursting, they phone us up, Priscilla, and help us. You know, then we put in the claim and we facilitate those things as well. So it's actually very important, the insurance side.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ruben, I think maybe you want to talk about what about when things go wrong? I mean, when really goes wrong?
Yeah.
Because I think that's what the investors actually want to know. When we look at the downside, we've talked about the upside. What's the downside, and what are the preventative measures that we can actually bring in?
Unfortunately, yeah, sometimes things don't go as planned and as per the contract. And again, then from a legal point of view, we go back to the basis, which is the agreement. What was the agreement? We go and we meticulously go through all the clauses and we make sure, okay, what needs to be done? What's the default? Okay. And obviously, like everything in life, we try to resolve it amicably.
Yeah.
But we have to follow the legal route that in case of litigation, which is always the last resort, we need to tick all the boxes. So we will place specific parties that are in default. We will place them on terms. We'll say, listen, in terms of the agreement, this is what transpired. We're giving you 7 days or 5 days or 14 days or whatever was the agreement to rectify. Okay, so let's just use a simple example. You're behind with your rent with X amount of months or whatever the case may be. You need to get that up to date within the next 7 days. If not, we will write back to you, we'll cancel the lease agreement. Okay, and then subsequent to that, we can then obviously start with either eviction procedures or we can start with collection procedures. But before we get to litigation, which is always the last resort, we try to mediate.
Yeah.
Okay, because, and unfortunately that doesn't always work, but we always try to, like I said, amicably resolve all disputes, because litigation is expensive.
Yeah.
And it can be very, very, very long, especially eviction procedures.
Yeah, exactly.
And unfortunately, sometimes we have to go that route because people don't tend to comply. But again, that's the last resort. So we always try to mediate. We always try to bring the parties together around a table, listen to them, try to understand what is their specific needs, what is the situation, why are you in default. Then we always try to help them.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, that's why we are here. We want to help the people. So, but yeah, unfortunately, the last one there, litigation, sometimes that is needed. I mean, because your rights need to be protected.
Yeah.
Then it can get expensive. It can be very tedious, but at the end of the day, sometimes it needs to be done. And that's what we do. We then issue summons for the collecting of debts. We bring a eviction application to evict the people before we can take transfer, etc., etc.
Maybe speak about the cost of default.
I just wanted to chat quickly about this actually, due to the whole process, that we actually, this really came out of reflection loops, that we set up a process.
Yeah.
We first let anybody that doesn't pay on the 3rd, by the 3rd. Okay, now the unfortunate or fortunate thing for our investors is most of our deals is the rental in advance. So the only reason why they default may only be because of the end of term, or they go overturn, or in the case where they don't pay the debt, actually. It's part of the agreement that because we want them to recover. If they breach that, then in that case we'll put them on terms. So, but then by the moment that they haven't paid, by the 3rd, they get the notice. By the 7th, the instruction goes to the attorney to put the default letter. By the 15th, we meet with them for the mediation meeting and find a solution, which we in most cases can do, and get right. I mean, it's literally, I think we've got something like probably 2 evictions in 13 years. I think it's not too bad. And now busy with one. And then I would say there's a lot of legal letters and things going out, but most of them get resolved because the client understands, or the real estate owner in this case understands, that there's certain penalties, certain things that takes place, and on the end of the day, it's not worth it, So I think that is important. And then obviously as well, our exit strategy from the time that the property gets, like for instance, one of the exit strategies always is, if you are in default, we sell the property and we both agree upfront what we're going to list for, what we're going to sell for, what prices we can drop to, what prices we're going to accept on the end of the day. And even if the real estate investor wants to keep the property, what did he need to pay additional into the transaction to actually just keep it? So those type of things are all part and built into those agreements. Yeah.
Okay, great. So just take us through, who's going to take us through the tenant breach?
I'm going to do this, but I'm going to,
Yeah.
This is a new invention coming up, guys. It didn't exist before on this, but it's also one of the things that come out of the reflection loops. As Ruben will say, litigation is very expensive. Okay, so for 250 Rand a month, that we're going to build into the new contracts from now on. If you pay that, and it's inclusive in the transaction, and anytime you have to litigate, it is covered, all your legal costs is covered for that litigation. So it's actually not, it's a kind of a no-brainer. I don't think we mind paying 3,000 Rand to get a coverage for sometimes up to 100,000.
I'm very aware of this product because I've actually spent a lot of time with this gentleman. In fact, last week we spent 3 days together.
Oh, fantastic.
And so I know exactly how this product works.
Okay.
It really is an innovative one. I think what really happens, the contract is cancelled
Exactly.
If there's a breach period, there's a normal letter, there's a letter of demand, and eventually they would then engage with the actual tenant
Mediate.
and try and get to mediation. If they find that there is no solution, they cancel the contract.
Yeah.
The next job is just to get the tenant out the property.
Yeah.
And then they actually take them and they replace them into other properties at their cost.
Yeah.
Because it's much cheaper than the legal costs. Because the
That's
legal
amazing,
costs are
actually.
anything.
True.
I mean, Ruben knows 30,000,
Yeah.
100 to 150,000 plus.
Yeah.
And it can get really expensive. So we avert all those costs, and the agent, the owner, nobody's liable for those costs. Really good product, and
Love
a
it.
great
Yeah.
way
Amazing.
to
That's amazing.
to
I just wanted to say one thing that we shouldn't forget. There's a reason why we go up to 75% maximum
yes,
of
yeah.
market value, because the 25% is still,
Equity.
the equity of the real estate owner selling it to you. So the reality is, if there's a fight, that 25%
The buffer.
is the buffer, and we can use the capital from that perspective to fund the legal fees.
Yeah.
Unless we have the product, which we will now be adding on.
Yeah, well,
And it's very important.
And it's interesting what Gerhard says. The important thing there is that why would you, if you're the owner, go into a battle that's going to cost 100,000 and you're going to deduct it from your own proceeds? That doesn't make sense.
That's why they turn around. That's why
That's
they
why
turn around.
most, you'll see in our history, we don't have a lot of these cases. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So I'm just a little bit conscious of time.
Yes. Yeah.
We've got a lot of questions here that I want to deal
we can
with.
skip this.
So maybe just take us through the end part in terms of the contractual exit strategy.
Okay, so I think it's very simple. If we do a transaction for 12 months, okay, in month 9, the guarantees must be delivered, because transfer would normally take 2 months, maybe pushing 3 months. So on the end of the day, we start and make sure that in month 4, we start making sure that the client is ready to apply for his mortgage, that type of thing. 3 months prior, we get the guarantees, and then if it goes over, that's the important part. How do we exit then contractually? And if you go down the list, it's first selling, then dropping to quick sale prices, which means your capital and returns will never be touched at quick sale. Then we go to what we call forced sale prices. That means we can put it on auction. After we put it on auction, if we don't get the price, you can also resile, keep the property at a certain level, and you pay something additional into it, a price into it, and that type of thing. So those things are all very well structured. There's literally a 5 to 6 point process that we follow for the exit if there is any default in that case. Okay. Which is clearly defined in the agreements.
Great. So I think on that note, I would like us, because we've gone into great detail in terms of the process. Thanks for the team for that. I think, and if there's any questions around that from our audience and also our live audience, if you've got questions now, we're going to get to the Q&A. We will ask Christoph, you can be the mic runner if there's questions, live questions here. Did you want to just add on to that in closing?
No, I think it's maybe Tommy, you can just share that slide. If we look at the contractual payment priorities, Ruben can just maybe touch it on a minute for it if that's
sure.
possible.
Yeah, no, sure.
Just very quickly, I think obviously as the investor, your first thing you want to know is my money safe? Okay, and am I going to get my returns? But in the property transaction process, unfortunately, there are people that will stand before you in the process. Like for instance, if there's a mortgage bond, like I said earlier, preferred creditor. So that bank will be paid first from the proceeds on the selling of that property, right? And then there's other costs, rates and taxes, levy clearance certificates, etc., that has to be paid. Even prior to registration, that needs to be paid, because we need to get rates and levy clearance certificates from the municipality or from the body corporate. And then SARS transfer duty has to be paid. So we need to get a transfer duty certificate all of these certificates need to be lodged with the deeds office prior to registration. The registrar of deeds will not give us the registration if we don't submit that document beforehand. And then compliance certificates as well. That's what we call the COCs. That's usually what the seller needs to pay. There's also cost involved there. Again, prior to registration. Estate agent or buyback commissions and fees that need to be paid. That's usually from the proceeds that needs to be paid. Us as the attorneys, we usually give an undertaking in that regard, not necessarily necessary for guarantees. We usually give guarantees for the banks for the settlement of the mortgage bonds. And then if need be, if applicable, the legal fees, obviously, that need to be paid. And then the investor's capital, together with the returns, and then obviously the wealth assist performance profits, and then whatever is left, the real estate owner gets the balance, because that's obviously also part of the deal, always. You as the investor, you won't walk away with all the proceeds, unfortunately. You get your returns as agreed, but if there's a balance, then the real estate owner will get that.
Excellent. Thanks for clarifying that, Ruben. And I think for our audience out there, there's going to be a deal day. Do you want to tell us about the deal day, Gerhard? Because the deal day is where the actual real property deals are. You've got Brady Palm. He's actually here in the crowd. You want to wave and go in front of the camera here, Brady? You can see him on the screen. You can see Gerhard over here. But there's one on the 14th of August. That's where the real deals
that was actually
are.
the last Friday's one.
Yeah.
So this is just the one that we...
Okay.
So
So 14th was the last.
Okay, of course.
that was the last one.
28th.
Yeah,
28th.
28th, we'll have our next one. So I just wanted to put it up there so that when our investors just see an invite for it, on this day at once, at the same time, to all our investors that's actually registering for this, we actually launched the current deals that's been approved from our risk committee, which is quite a lengthy process to get to that point.
Yes.
But we give them all a fair chance. We explain it in depth on every aspect, and they can ask us questions as well.
Correct.
Call it a
And this is regular?
priority chance, guys. That's the important part.
Yeah.
Before it gets distributed to all the other investors, and that's what makes it unique.
Okay, great. Okay, let's get into the Q&As because there's a few questions here. Some are basic questions from some starter investors. So there's a combination. You have some starters. Kabela asks, how long does the sale of property usually take from the time that you obviously signed the deal? I think, Ruben, you know the process from the time.
Yeah,
Manny
from the signing of the agreement to the registration. It usually takes, we push obviously for as quickly as possible, but usually there are various role players involved.
Yeah.
But we work on 2 months.
Okay.
More or less, because we need to get levy clearance, we get rates clearance certificates, we need to get SARS clearance. And unfortunately, you work with people that these things take time.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. Okay, so let's say 2 months, but it can be faster. Sometimes it can be a bit longer.
Excellent. Great. From Anonymous, he says there are currently new developments underway where developers are the only ones scoring, like in the North Coast in KZN, like in Cape Town. It's ridiculous to be paying about 1.5 million for a new 48 square meter apartment. So in the South Coast, we pay about 600,000 for older apartments. Talking from experience, it takes years to ever make any profit if we invest in the new development. Is it wiser than to invest in older properties?
I want to answer that.
Yes.
I've been saying all along, not every property is an investment. And
good
the thing is, what I don't
Yeah.
understand is that so few people do the numbers.
Yeah.
So I always say to a few of my clients has been in development stock, bought 3 years ago, thinking it's going to be a bargain, and now it's coming to transfer. And then I say, okay, let's quickly do the numbers. And then I say, wait a minute, let me just get out here. How do I get out of this deal? So the reality is developer stock is inflated mostly, and they're making the upside initially, and it will take you many years. In Cape Town, it's about 11 years before you'd break even.
I just want to say that we're going to try and be nice here in saying no. You pay market value. Let's call it that. Okay, you're not overpaying. You pay market. Okay, but current market values at the moment is unfortunately very high in Cape Town. in the northern suburbs of KwaZulu-Natal. It is very high at the moment. And even if you just pay market value, I think the key here is we also will offer you products soon that comes from developers, but you will still buy them at 75% of market value. That's the difference. So it's not a problem if you buy in a new development. That's what you pay that is the challenge.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And the fact that you have to look at things like, if somebody tells you in a new development, that's where the biggest problem comes in. They tell you you're going to get this kind of rental. Now, I've been offered that many times in my life. And I say, okay, what's the rental? You say this much. I say, just hold on a sec. Let's just sit here. I just want to phone an agent quickly in the area. Do you mind? No problem. Okay, let's phone them. Phone them, ask them, what's the rental? And they say exactly what this person said. I say, okay, but can I just ask another question? We're going to have 40 of those units available at the same time. What rental are you going to get me now? Oh, no, but that's a different story. Okay, so and that's the problem. That different story means that you're going to have a deficit. You're going to pay in. Okay? And that's going to be the problem.
Just on that point, I've got R1 million flat exercise that I will show them. You will pay in 330,000 Rand over the first 10 years on most of these development stock. That's your cash contribution, and it will take you another 8 years to break even in terms of your cash that you've put into that deal. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The real development stock that happens is the guys that you know it buys upfront. They buy the first number of units, which is not market value.
Yes.
And that's the only way.
That's
if you
normally
are
the
one of
developer.
those, then that's worth it.
All about timing. That's normally the developer who buys that stock. But yeah, question here, Debbie Victor says it's actually a question about tax SARS. Not sure when this question can be asked. I was wondering about how the new regulation from SARS will affect the future real returns. We don't really have any tax expert. I don't know if you've got a comment. All I can say to that, Debbie, is that obviously there's new regulations that come in at different times. Get advice on it. And obviously sometimes it can affect returns. But look, I think part of an investor about being strategic is to try and avoid that impacting your return. So there are ways and means that you can actually avoid it. And, to get avoidance strategy.
I could just add maybe to say, we have got guys who really specialize in tax advice. And they're really, really good. And if you struggle and you want to know how our products' tax structures work and how it will affect your personal situation, because every person's tax situation is different. And if you want to know that, we'll directly guide you to them. They will give you that advice and you'll know exactly what will happen and how you will be taxed.
Great. Just for clarity, the installment sale must be longer than 12 months?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so just for clarity there. What is the precise benefits of using Wealth Assist opposed to purchasing directly from an agent and managing a tenant, for example? Over to you, gentlemen.
I will tell it as Daniel will say it. No, I think we are not selling your property. We are structuring investments, and they need to make money. And therefore, we are not agents. Although legally we are registered with the PPRA and must be registered as agents, but we are speaking about investment properties. And if it doesn't fulfill that criteria, it's a property and good for use, but not for investment.
And then I can just add what makes us different. Triple net leases, guaranteed rentals up front, all cost inclusive when you buy. You don't pay transfer fees. Every single deal, the transfer cost is inclusive. I get so used to it that I forget all the...
But those three are actually quite...
But those you don't get somewhere else. You pay your own maintenance. You don't pay the maintenance. Those type of things are all things which you cannot compare with a buy-to-let. Not at all. In actual fact, Gerhard will send you a link. I think Tana send a link with maybe for those who want to see. We did a comparison to a buy-to-let and show exactly what the difference is between that. And I can guarantee you, if you've seen the differences, buy to let is your second choice.
Maybe just the fourth one, Neale, is that there is an exit contractually, and your returns is already on paper, and it will come out of the deal.
It's guaranteed.
So you, and that's what we call.
Predetermined
It's like almost like a saamgestelde rente.
Yeah. Compound
Compound
Interest.
interest effect,
returns.
because we know that we'll be realizing so much profits, and we can reinvest it, and then suddenly it becomes a snowball.
Okay, next question. Gentlemen, I'm so new and fresh into this. My mother-in-law is going on retirement next year, and she's expecting at least just about 3 million. 3 million dangling, gentlemen. She asked me and my wife to assist her to investigate how better she can invest the money and be able to live something, or give something rather, for her grandchildren.
Good example is go to Gerhard. What's that? Don't delay, call today. Phone Gerhard, book a meeting, they got book a call. It's not a joke, it's true. And then you book a call with them. What is important is planning. When you have that money, plan. Let them give you a plan, because your needs, or your mother-in-law's needs, or whoever's money it is, always have a specific purpose of, do they want to live on it? Do they want some income? Do they want some capital growth? Do they want both, or just capital growth? Don't they need the money? Those are just a few stupid questions which they will go through, answer, put it in a structured plan. They will exactly show you what will be the plan for the next 10 years.
Well, according to the drawdown percentages that you're advised in normal markets, she will basically have to live from about 10,000 and less to protect the capital and come out for full life expectancy. So I think, from our perspective, she most likely will at least earn almost double, coming to us. So, and it's guaranteed. I mean, we're not taking risk with the money.
Great. 2 more questions. And are there any questions in the audience? Is there anybody that would like to ask a question? Just so that I know. I mean, you can just raise your hand. Okay, we still got 2 more questions. Yeah, you can still think about. You can think about it.
You won't be let out if you don't ask a question.
Okay, Selim Pilo asks, I want to refinance my house, and there are 33 months remaining on the bond. How can I be assisted?
I am totally convinced that doing that is a good option. Looking at your where you currently are in terms of how long the banks will give you finance for still, we definitely have a strategy in place where we can keep that bond open and do investments by funding as customers, putting it back, keeping that facility open. So please contact us. There's a solution that will help you a lot.
Excellent. Good. And then,
even to pay it off quicker.
all right.
Yeah.
Good.
Access.
And final question here. As a buyer investor into a gated community, I found that it's essential to get the financial affairs of the body corporate, so that the association is performing well. How easy is it to get this, given that you are not yet an owner?
The owner can get it. That's the bottom line. And I would never advise you. I mean, we do that check on every single one of our sectional title deals. You cannot. You must remember, there's a simple thing. The bank don't finance any property that is in a body corporate that's insolvent. Or
You mean the body corporate is insolvent?
yeah. So you might not know it. And you buy that property, and when you get to it, you might pay cash for it. We had a situation like that. And on the end of the day, you got problems, because now anybody who wants to use a mortgage in the future can't buy that property. And that's unfortunately 70% of people buying properties.
So Neale, to answer that question, it's very simple. Make it a condition in the contract of sale that you as the purchaser want to see. Make it a condition.
Wonderful. I was actually going to ask you a question. What legal protection would you put in as
So
your
make it a
final-
suspensive condition that until I see that, there's no agreement.
Fantastic.
That's a
Okay,
good one.
I'm going to ask our team then just to give your final sort of say 30 to 1 minute final words. I'll start off with you, Ruben. Maybe just your final thoughts, maybe some wisdom that you want to share with the audience in closing, and then take it from there.
They haven't asked questions.
Yeah, they have to
No
at least
questions.
ask
You
a
tell me
question.
there's no question.
We will get them
We've
now.
got a lot of clever people there.
So if an investor is in, say, a 12-month deal with you and becomes litigious and becomes messy at the end and you need to take legal action against him, when it goes over the 12-month period, does he continue to get his rental for as long as the deal as it's
Very
being
good
sold?
question. Brilliant question. Can I stop?
Yeah, so first of all, we've got the full rental guarantee for the term, plus 3 months deposit, which we also got in the transaction built in. So normally, if there is a default, we normally have about 6 months coverage in advance to actually make sure. But I think Gerhard will probably say, yeah, but don't forget about the equity that's in there in any way, which is also kind of there to protect you. So I hope that answers
Well,
that.
if
that
it
question.
extends, let's say we go over term, then what we will do is, if there's no cash flow in that deal, but until the last month of transfer out of your name back or the cancellation of the recordal, the calculation will be done. So in that 25% that's available, they will deduct your interest,
Your arrear rentals.
your arrear interest, your penalties that's actually applied, 10% of that late payment. So every cent will be paid out until the last day.
Great, thank you. And I think on that note, we are, I think we've come to the end of the webinar, but I'd like to just get closing comments. First of all, Ruben, your closing thoughts, and then you, Gerhard, and finally you, Daniel. And before we close off, just your final thoughts.
Just from my side, thank you for the opportunity, Daniel and Neale. And if there's any investors out there that our firm, we are the deposit holding attorneys and the conveyancing attorneys, so please feel free to contact our office. I think our business cards are there. Please feel free to contact us if you have any additional questions. Our door is always open.
Great stuff. Thank you. It's
Yes,
Ruben
so
Healley.
I've got an investor who actually went to his attorney and he got an account of 24,000. And this is, I wasn't expecting this. I said, why did you go to him? Just speak to our attorney. It's your attorney. So in any case, so please, there's so many costs involved when it comes to property. So, and we've really built a structure where you can sit back and see how it is happening in front of you, but your personal involvement is very little. And I think that's why we make it easy. But you've got more guarantees than you ever will have in your own personal portfolio. There's no doubt. I've seen it, I've compared it, and I really want to encourage you because you will make cash quicker in our deals to actually build in the buffers for where you go into a development deal that's not panning out as you expected. Because I always say you'll need cash and cash flow in property investment, and the quicker you have it ready, the better for you.
Great stuff. Daniel, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think action speaks louder than words. So you know the only way that you learn is unfortunately by doing it. And I think if you are weary or you're not sure, take that first step, put your toe in the water, and take it from there, one step at a time, grow into it, and as you get used to it, and you see you're comfortable with what happens and the results is great, go for it, and make sure you see how it's actually done on Saturday. All the All Blacks are talking about a lot of things, and they can run everybody off their feet, but Saturday will be the day that they learn it doesn't work like that.
I was just going to say, thank you, Rassi, for your insight over here. But yes, I think that's very exciting coming up the next 4 weeks because they're great inspiration, I think, to us as a country that uplifts confidence And it's certainly the one thing that's working really well. I've been around the country the last few months, and I've been to very, very poor municipalities and seen absolute failure, seeing the country, municipal areas falling apart. We live in the Western Cape in Cape Town. We're actually blessed
Yeah, yeah.
compared to the rest, that we're so lucky we've got a government that runs this place properly. And when we just see the disaster, and that's got to change, and that's something. And at least
They're
we've
a
got
good
something.
example of that.
Absolutely.
But they're also a good example of building a system,
Yeah,
which
Yeah.
is what Wealth Assist and Real Estate Assist does here.
yeah,
Is we build a system. That's what they've done. It's not, oh, if the next guy's not there,
yeah,
Officer Rassi's not there, there's
system.
now a system that's built.
yeah. And, you know, and it's not a political statement. It's rather people want everything fixed. It doesn't matter who fixes it.
Yes.
They got to fix it. It's not, and that's what we need. But anyway, thank you very much to you, the audience. I think you were fantastic. We got a question out of you, so that's fantastic. Thanks for your participation. So we got lots of questions out of you for our audience, and thank you for staying on for so long. And really, so you've got to invest with the numbers. You've got to understand the structure. You've got to know when to exit. And hopefully you've picked up. And once again, I encourage you to come along to Deal Day. I think it's in 2 weeks' time on the 28th at 12 o'clock. And come along, see what deals there are. You've been a wonderful audience, and both live and also online. And I look forward to seeing you at our next webinar, which will be next Thursday. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's very good having you all. And good night, everybody, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.